Hello, in this video I want to speak about a couple tips that I wish someone told me about when I started getting into virtual instruments. For this demo, I'm using Albion One and I'm using the long string patches. Very nice library indeed. But what I want to show is what happens if you duplicate your entire track. So for example, I have this one, an exact copy here. Well, almost an exact copy. Let me move this here. I'll tell you why it's not exact copy. Well, let's say we double it. So if I play this one by itself, okay, if I play them both, it will sound twice as loud. But because it's the same exact patch, same exact VST, it will load the same exact WAV files. If I move these just a little bit, see? Do you hear that weird sound, the phasing? Let's try to move it a bit more. It's as if there's a frequency that does not exist. So let me try this one, which I pre-prepared. Why is that happening again? It's happening because if we play some sound, a frequency, and if we happen to play the same exact shape with some delay, and we sum them together, oh, that's a bad graph, I have to redraw it. If we have this one, and maybe this is a little bit delayed, something like this, and we sum these up, so you will get something like whatever shape it will be, but you will get some sound will vanish in one place versus the other one. So this is what's called phasing, because they are out of phase, they're not exactly synchronized on top of each other. You can get into these issues. How bad can it get? This is bad. And this happened with any library, not just this library that I chose. How do we solve it? Well, do not do this. Do not play the same unless you just 100% duplicate like this. Same velocity, same everything, because sometimes if you change the velocity, sometimes you may load a patch that's very similar. Depends on how they design the libraries. And this is not just for the long patches. This can happen with every patch. As long as they're duplicate of each other, if it's not exact replica 100%, you can run into this phasing issue. Now, why would you want to double this? Well, one trick is instead of playing with automation, like suppose you're playing a piece slowly and you want to amplify the sound. Yeah, that's bad, but let me remove this. But the idea is so instead of playing with automation, you double your sound this way, and in a way you're simulating two string sections. Now sometimes some libraries like the Spitfire's chamber strings, they already have violin 1 and violin 2. So let me undo a bit some of the damage that I've done. I want the phasing. it 1 second. Let me recreate the phasing. So now it started to sound bad. The thing is, we have to do just about. And what about this one? Oh, this was the bad one. Okay. Yeah, now if I move these here to violin 1 and violin 2, no problem. Actually, let me do something here. I have, this is not triggering because it's set up on MIDI2, but okay, this is violin 1 and this is violin 2. Now, if I enable, let me copy this one back here. It still works. This is because this is different library, so the recordings are different. Yeah, so you can combine multiple libraries to use different strings, or you can have the same library which has already sections separated out, or you can still have two like we had before. So this is the problematic one. What you just have to do is make sure, like the real world, right? Like you can play only one line, one section plays one line, and the other section plays the other line. Maybe I should have switched the order. Okay. And these ones, well, maybe you want to simulate both sections are playing this. Well, it has to be the same exact notes. Do not mess with the velocities or anything in that case. Very important for libraries that have only one section. Alternatively, you may combine different libraries. Now, what happens though? Let's go back to this. Excuse the beeping. Let me mess it up a bit. It's starting to sound bad. See, barely, and especially when you humanize your thing, when you humanize the, set random order, it's difficult to control this, what's happening. Now, what I wanted to say is, suppose you have a different patch. The problem is not that obvious, is it? Because it's a different audio file. So this is the that one. Let me load it here. Now if I choose the same one, I may run into issues. You hear that? It sounds very synthy, doesn't it? Again, there is a threshold where if you just move it just the right frequency, you will get those destructive patterns. And you have to be aware of them. And it can happen with your shorts too. So you have to be careful when you play, when you have the same library playing the same exact notes or patches. You want to avoid the tracks playing the same note. Very important. Now you can combine different strings, which is fine. You'll run into other issues into how to make them sound in the same room. But I noticed also sometimes, at least this is specific to this library, we get issues here. Let me change it to long. Okay, let me delete these. Too loud. And for this reason, this does not want to play. So sometimes you may run into trouble with your bass, and specifically the low brass, the long patches. At least I noticed this issue can happen in this library. I don't know what's going on in this case, if there may be patching multiple things together here and that's interfering, causing some weird interference patterns. Now it's not obvious, but I have run into this issue before. So if you hear some waving patterns in your compositions, just look for which tracks. Now it's not happening. I guess by chance I loaded different instrument which was interfering with this one. Actually, maybe I know which one. Let me try one more thing. So let's hear the string by itself. So again, no cello can play that long. I mean, if it's a section, I guess it's different. But I wonder if in the processing of this long note and the processing of this long note, because they came from the same company, if they're using same techniques, if they're creating some artifacts which only manifest when you play the same long notes in an unrealistic way. Again, if you mimic something natural, most likely you will not run into this issue. In this case, where you have different instruments like brass and strings playing the same note. But if you're trying to do something unrealistic, like hold a very long brass more than anyone can breathe, this software is trying to do something, and that may cause some phasing issues again. Combine that with some reverb, or let me remove the vibrato. Here, I don't know if there is a vibrato here. No. Let me make it far. So if I move here far, it's using different microphones. There is more of the same room. And here, the thing is, those libraries were recorded in the same room. Awesome room, by the way, if you ask me. But I'm trying to replicate one of the issues I found. Maybe I'll dedicate a video and load that WAV file and talk about it. There is a little bit of that now. brass going up and down. Whoa. Could be just how the brass sounds. Oops, I want solo. But again, because they're playing the same note in the same room and using the same microphone, very similar settings, you can hear the artifacts. That's all for this video, so just be careful with these issues to not run into phasing issues or some synthy sounding compositions. Thank you.